I'm joined now by Bruce Fein. He's a constitutional lawyer and a former Associate Deputy Attorney General and General Counsel of the Federal Communications Commission. Really appreciate your time there, Bruce. Now, firstly, from what I've been told, you live near the protests and can hear the chants and rally cries. What does this movement mean to you?
Well, on the one hand, I was quite saddened to see when I walked to my office today that around the Supreme Court you had these huge fences, barriers that looked like it was a fortress in a war zone. I mean, when I first came to Washington, you could walk into the Supreme Court. I had friends on the court. You could visit them. There were opportunities for the public to watch some of the arguments. And now it looks like it's, like I say, it's now sealed off from the American people, and that's quite unfortunate. There's no reason why we can't have a commitment to civilized debate and disagreement, but no force, no violence. Now, on the other hand, I will say this, despite the fact that there are the barriers, both sides have ample opportunity to make their voices heard. That's the hallmark of the United States of America still. I think January 6th was an exception where those who were opposed to Biden's win did not simply argue against it, but used force and violence, and they're still being prosecuted today. But I do think that the protests show the robustness of our culture still to having decisions resolved through words and argument rather than through violence.
Now, keeping in mind we're an international channel with an international audience, so if we can paint the picture in modern-day America here in Washington, D.C., we're in a city where, of course, expectations about choice feels pretty different to smaller cities in, say, Mississippi or Oklahoma. What does the enforcement of an abortion ban look like in these red states? How much does the state need to intrude into a woman's life in these areas?
Well, it's changing rapidly because of technology, but let me just, to make the whole picture complete, even at the time of Roe 45 years ago, about a third of the states had relaxed abortion laws. Even Ronald Reagan, when he was governor of California in 1967, signed a law that basically was an echo of, or an anticipation of, Roe v. Wade itself. And because the lowering of transportation costs over the years, airplanes, railroads, whatever, there are the large majority of citizens of the United States reside in states that have liberal abortion laws, and citizens who reside in the South, where the laws would be more restrictive, get on planes, not all of them, but many of them do, and the states with liberal abortion laws are already providing the funds to accommodate more patients. But you ask, well, how do you enforce something like this for those patients who can't travel to a state that has a liberal abortion law? It becomes very difficult and certainly very intrusive. And that's why I think the unknown factor here is the growing use of telemedicine, whereby your internet provides, through prescribing drugs, through interstate commerce and advice, the ability of a woman to have an abortion really in the home. And I think it would be another legal issue that would arise, whether or not the right to privacy, which was recognized in the conjunction with saying you have a right to use contraceptives in your home, would also be implicated if a state tried within the home itself, not within a doctor's office, an effort to prevent an abortion from occurring. That's what we don't know at present, how telemedicine is going to, in the future, affect abortion.
And just quickly, if we can take a political turn here, even though it's a win for Republicans, they're certainly playing it down from a policy perspective. They know polls show that there is a strong pro-choice sentiment in the US. How might both sides use this as a wedge issue and, you know, shore up support come the elections, or will they postpone it till after the election so they don't have this kind of wedge?
No, politicians can't postpone anything that if their constituents want it to be an issue.
I mean the Supreme Court. Will the Supreme Court postpone them?
It is a wonderful question. In Roe versus Wade itself, the case was carried over from one term to the next. It was initially filed in 1970, wasn't decided until 1973. Some of the majority wanted a re-argument. And it's certainly possible in this case where, from what we know, the draft opinion of Justice Alito has not even been circulated for approval by the other 4 members of the majority. The way in which the opinions get written is after there's a conference and a vote. then the single justice is given the assignment to write the majority, but anybody can abandon the vote once they see an actual opinion. And is typically the opinion gets circulated, and then there are revisions. I can't go along with that. We haven't even reached that stage. And moreover, because any decision that would become in a timely fashion, that would be by June no less, it would have the propinquity in time to the demonstrations, would give the appearance that the court is capitulating to one side or the other. So there may be a thrust for re-argument, which would have to be one of the five saying, we want to re-argue, we want to create space between the actual decision and when these demonstrations occur, so it doesn't look like we're a political football.
Right.
And that certainly is a possibility, especially, I say, because the precedent was set in Roe v. Wade itself, which was carried over from one term to the next.
Really interesting insight. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Bruce. Bruce Fein, constitutional lawyer for us there.
All right. Have a wonderful day.